You're fighting the gods and you need a god-killing weapon, but you don't get an epic quest to craft a god-killing weapon? Hey everybody, welcome back to Ragnarok Gaming. I'm Wes, and today we're talking about Rune II Decapitation Edition, and this is an absolute glory fest. I am not joking when I say that this game has so much blood, gore, and glory within it that I cannot believe they fit it all in one game. Okay, yeah, I can believe they fit it all in one game because they did. And although this game is a lot of fun to play, and I thoroughly enjoyed playing this game all the way through for a little bit over 16 hours, I have to say that it's not the most polished game, and there's a lot of things that can be improved. So we're going to get into some of the really good stuff, some of the stuff that I think they're really going to improve on, and then why I believe this game is going to continue to succeed. So in full transparency, I do have to say the developers sent me a CD key on Steam, so I played this game for free. This game costs $30. It's not a full AAA game. This is like a B-roll movie. Rune II is this hack and slash RPG where you get a sword, a shield, an axe, whatever weapon you can pick up, and you get to go beat people over the head with it. You get to take off limbs, legs, heads, everything, sometimes making their entire bodies just kind of disappear into a red mist. And you get to have fun, and you get to feel like a demigod wading through your enemies at some points. And at other points, you feel like you're outmatched and outclassed, and you have this great sense of achievement when you get to actually beat all the enemies in the area. I have thoroughly enjoyed both aspects of this game, and I've also enjoyed the story and the quests and the side quests, and oh my goodness, the over-the-topness of some of these voice actors is absolutely amazingly hilarious, and it is by far my favorite part of this game.
Please, traveler, I beg of your assistance.
So let's get into some of the good, some of the bad, before I actually start getting way off topic. Rune II does a lot of things very well. It's a hack and slash game. It's a melee based game, but it does give you spells and skills. It's an RPG, so it gives you your stats, your stamina, your skill points that you get to spend on things to make yourself more powerful. Because I was in fealty to hell, yes, that's the god's name, the goddess's name, is because I got to go through and I got to hit for 5 seconds without having the ability for the enemy to dodge or block. So it meant no matter what, I was going to hit for full strength the entire time, every time that I swung, and it did great things. I would stun, I would go through and I do that, and I just hit them over and over and over again. And this allowed me to hit a lot of mobs very quickly and clear out huge swaths of enemies in other areas where I'd be doing parrying and dodging against 6 or 7 different enemies and make it really tough because they could also block and dodge and parry. So they made the game where it's not too challenging, but it's not too easy, and you can always learn the skills a little bit more and increase difficulty. I played on hard, which was the second from the top, and I thought it was a really good mixture of how hard it was and how challenging it was as a technical fighter. Now, there are other things that they do poorly, and one of them is the control of combat. And this is one of those things where it's like, this is a game that's strictly about combat. I should have more control over when my character does animations, how it breaks animations, how it jumps out of animations, and I don't have that, at least not yet. Now, everything that is wrong with this game is actually fully listed by the developers on a webpage, which I will link in the description, because they have acknowledged that they have bugs and problems in their game, and they're using community feedback, actively using it and engaging with the community, and have listed it publicly where all of the issues are. So I appreciate that. And that's the #1 reason why I think this game is going to continue to get better and do better and be a very good game in the near future. It is a good game now. I think it will be a very good game in the future. As I said earlier, this is an RPG, so you have your stats, your skills, your traits, and all this other stuff. It's very simple. This is a very user-friendly RPG. So if you're not used to having stamina, strength, constitution, and wisdom, you're going to understand it very quickly. It actually has tooltips that tell you, hey, this is going to make you hit harder. This is going to make you harder to kill. This is going to make your god power easier. This is going to mean that you get critical hits more. So it actually explains what's happening. It explains which traits you're eligible to use based on who you swear fealty to. There's 3 gods, and then you can just be like, hey, I don't care about any of you, and get extra traits that way. It actually all works. This is a very well put together skill system for entry into RPGs. It's a co-op game as well, and there's also multiplayer PvP that's available with server matching. I thoroughly would love to do this, but nobody that I knew had a copy of the game, so I was unable to do co-op. I was unable to get into the PvP. But both of those seem like they'd be a lot of fun. If somebody does get this game, I'm willing to go back and reinstall and play it again.
Oh, thank you, brave warrior. I'm just glad they didn't cut out my tongue for speaking ill of their god.
Now, being a hack and slash RPG, it's all about the weapons, right? It's all about your melees, your swords, your great swords, your axes, your maces, your legs, and your arms. Yeah, you actually get legs and arms and heads, and they are things that you can use, and they're epic drops. This game is all about the gore. It's all about being crazy. It's all about being slightly over the top, and it does it well. Now, you can go through and get different axes, and they can be different rarities. You have your greens and your purples, and it's all there. None of that matters. You just have to look at the stats on everything, because everything's a little bit better here and a little bit worse there, and a green might be better than your epic yellow. So hey, deal with it. Just use the best weapon that you have. The only weapon that I found that actually hits differently and has a different strike pattern is the spear. So my axe, my two-handed axe, my two-handed mace, my two-handed hammer, my one-handers with a shield, it all blocked the same, it all hit the same. It was just the amount of damage that I did. But the spear actually behaved differently. It had a longer thrust. I was able to reach out and touch enemies a little bit farther. I wasn't a fan of how it blocked, and that's why I didn't use it as much, but I did like the offensive style of the spear. I just didn't like the defensive style. So it's there, but it made the combat very simple and easy to understand. There weren't a lot of hotkeys to do. There were 4 of them, and that made combat really, really easy, very fluid. I understood what I was doing very quickly within this game, unlike some other RPGs, which take, a couple hours to understand what the controls are and what all my different spells are. So I thoroughly enjoyed being able to hack and slash very quickly, very easily, and enjoy myself immediately within this game. Armor is very similar to most RPGs. There's only one problem with this armor. Bracers break almost immediately. I've never had a game where a piece of armor breaks so much quicker than everything else within the game. And bracers would literally break before anything else got down to 80%. So I don't understand what the bug is, but I think they're fixing it. It was my only real bug about armor.
Oh, it is peculiar, though. All these victories, and yet my senses tell me we are moving in the wrong direction.
Now, loot is supposed to be based off of your level when you go through this game. I found that that's not always the case. It generally is around your level, but there would be times when I was a level 16 and I got a drop for 31 or a drop for 39, or I got a quest reward that required level 41 and I was level 36, and I needed this armor to be able to play the end game. So I had to go through and do additional side quests so I could get to level 41 so I could equip this armor that would help me in the final fight. I ended up getting level 40, equipping a different god-killing weapon, and that's how I played the game. Talking about leveling, though, is actually one of those things that I found to be very interesting in this game. At first, I just tried to grind some mobs I found out in the wilderness. I found that didn't work very well at all. That wasted about an hour and a half of my time. I went back to the quest, and I was doing side quests, and I was doing main quests, and all of a sudden, I'd jump up 10 levels in an hour. That's how I want to level. So this game was very quick to level. It allowed me to go through a lot of story very quickly, and I have to say that the leveling through the quest means that I was paying more attention to the quest. Now, the side quests were very interesting because they were just over the top. It was like high school drama and like sitcom drama mixed into just these over the top quests that were just super funny, and the voice actors were absolutely hilarious. And by far my favorite part of this game was listening to the voice actors on the side quest just rant and rave about their neighbors and about this and about that, and you gotta help me. I mean, this is literally like, if you watch The Mandalorian, you're like, he just wants to deliver the child to the Jedi. Why does he have to help every village along the way? It's literally Rune II. You're helping every village along the way so you can get and deliver your prize. Whatever, it happens. It's an RPG. Sound quality in this game is something else. Yes, most of the characters are voice acted. In fact, I think almost every character is voice acted NPC. If there's a text box for them, it's voice acted, which is really great for a studio this size and a budget of this size. I really enjoyed that fact. There might have been a couple repeat actors for different characters, not a big deal. I didn't really notice it. It didn't bug me that much. And they always try to use different inflection if it was there. What I will say was really bugging me were the special effects sounds. It was the same sound repeated over and over and over again. So if I'm hitting a tree or I'm hitting a rock, it's the same tree, it's the same rock. It doesn't matter where I am on the map or what I'm doing to that tree, what sword I'm hitting or axe I'm hitting it with, it's the same sound. If it falls, it's making the same sound, the same creak. It was really annoying after a while. I actually muted the game for a while when I was harvesting resources for stuff that I needed, and I just put on an audiobook and listened to the audiobook instead of listening to trees fall. It is what it is. Background music at some points was way too loud. I had to turn it down in the main menu. Other times it was okay. Background sounds were whatever. I mean, you could hear deer and the birds and everything like that. It was cool, but really I never paid attention to the background that much. I turned down the background sound because the way the map design is, I always had to hear where enemies were fighting, whether they were fighting deer or whether they were fighting bears or whatever, because the way the map is constructed, it's not a great big map, but it's very canalizing. So no matter where I was going, I was running through areas that there were enemy mobs, and they would always respawn very quickly. So I'd go somewhere, I'd do a quest, and I'd come back and I'd be fighting the same mob again. And I'm like, I just killed this guy. Why am I fighting him again? So it could be a little bit of a time sink there, killing mobs. Hopefully that spawn timer gets a little bit of an extension, because it's just not, I never felt like I cleared an area. Best part about the map though is the fact that it ties into the story. So you're a Viking, it's very like island centric, very ingrained in the waterways. The map is very nicely done. It ties back into the Norse culture, mythology. There's statues of Norse gods. I really thought that they did a great job tying in everything that they wanted to into the map, it felt like. And then when you went through the ages described in Norse mythology, you actually changed the way the map looks. So you have Age of Fire, you have the Age of Ice, you have the Age of Eternal Darkness, and it changes the map on each one of those. And I really enjoyed playing on each of the different variations of the map. It felt like they didn't have to create a new map every single time. They just changed the elements, and it probably saved them a lot of time and resources. Now, while I'm talking about all this good stuff, there are bugs with this game. There are problems with this game. So some of the bugs, I found some trees and some rocks that would just never disappear. So I sat there for 5 or 10 minutes harvesting resources for building new huts and new buildings throughout the world so that I could have my towns, my repairs, my shops. Like I mentioned earlier, there's problems with durability with items. The biggest issues I have with this game really come down to, it's an animation-based game. I don't like games, including Madden, which is animation-based. Once you start an animation, you can't cancel it. I'm doing a heavy attack and the enemy does a heavy attack. We're going to do heavy attacks, but we're going to slide off of each other and it's not going to hit. It doesn't make sense. The characters move instead of actually hitting each other. Or if I'm trying to roll and get off the ground, but somebody hits me, my character's like trying to roll, but it's also trying to do the animation of getting hit and staying on the ground, and just does weird like barrel rolls around the ground. It doesn't make sense. The movement model mixture with the camera was also very weird. I wish that it had been a little bit more free flowing, because the way that you can evade and dodge attacks means that you can't really see where you're dodging backwards or to the side. Sometimes you get caught on terrain, trees, rocks, and then all of a sudden you're trapped by 3 mobs who you have collision with and you can't get out, and the player's just going to end up dying right there. My second to last issue with this game is the way keys are bound. So there's radio menus. A lot of games have radio menus now. They make a lot of sense. Problem is when you bind it to the middle mouse press instead of like scrolling for your items, I don't understand that logic. It made things very weird because middle mouse scroll was linked to my camera. So I would randomly be zooming in and zooming out when I'm trying to open a radio menu, and some things are rebindable and some things aren't rebindable. But that having default to middle mouse button just made no sense to me. And you can't activate things through your inventory menu. You have to put them on the radio menu to use them. Once again, very odd decision. I don't like it, but I got used to it very quickly and it didn't really distract too much from the game. The one thing that did distract from the game though was the user interface. It was very clunky, very outdated, very hard to manipulate and get through. Just going through and slimming down the user interface, making it very easy to go from one screen to the next instead of having to go to the map, exit out, go to somewhere else. Yes, they had arrows, but I just think the user interface could use a lot of love and it would make the game a little bit more enjoyable. That's just my 2 cents. Last but not least, we have the graphics. And while the graphics are acceptable, I put them at cinematic, I put them at medium. I got the same stutter and lagging. It didn't matter. My frame rates were the same. It didn't matter. I'm running at 2080 on this computer. It's water cooled. I can crank this thing all the way up. It didn't matter for this game. It just was poorly optimized. It didn't matter how good my graphics were or how bad they were. And there were some really cool things like seeing Loki up in the sky, some of the attacks, seeing some of the spells. Yes, very visually stimulating. Going through the trees, I couldn't see some of the enemies, but they could see me through it. So that was kind of bugging me. Going through and dismembering enemies and then seeing them kind of puff into mist or get poisoned. I could see everything that was happening. I could understand the visual cues, and I thought that it looked decent enough for a studio of this size. Okay, I've been talking for a while on Rune 2. I think this game has a lot of potential. I think that there's a few things that just kind of bug me about the way that it was constructed, but that's not too big a deal. It's not a AAA game. It was a lot of fun to play, and I think that's the most important part, because you go through, you hack and slash, you relax, you have fun. You don't have to think too hard about this game. You don't have to invest a lot of time and effort and energy, and it has a co-op mode. So if more people start playing Rune 2, I think you'll see a lot more fun in the co-op than just solo, because you can go through and have competitions and have fun. And it's all about that experience with a friend instead of just sitting there and kind of mindlessly going by yourself. This kind of reminds me of doing co-op in Diablo 2. I think that this kind of the feel that they're going for is something fun and energetic that way. If you have any more questions or game suggestions for reviews, please hit me up in the comments down below. I really appreciate it. If you have your favorite RPG, I would love to know what your favorite RPG is, because this doesn't hit KOTOR 2 for me, but it definitely hits the hack and slash fun for me. Anyway, this has been Wes from Ridir Gaming. Do good, play hard, game on, and I'll see you next time.